Yo, what's up everybody? How's it going? They just announced a new hero. I made a little prediction here on what I think the hero's abilities are gonna be. We're gonna start this by watching the trailer for the hero. Snapfire is what she's called. There's also another new hero. I'm not gonna make an analysis on him. I think he's called the Void Spirit. If we get more info on that guy, then I'm happy to make a video, but right now I feel like there's too much speculation, there's not enough information. But with her, I think we can actually make some pretty neat predictions. Of course, as always, I don't know if this is actually accurate or not, but I'm just kind of giving you my best guess. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and watch the trailer first, and then we're gonna go through the trailer. Now, one thing I really want to make clear is that I am assuming things in the trailer mean something, right? Whenever we do one of these analyses, I get people saying, oh, it's just a trailer, it doesn't mean it. No. Look, if you think it's just a trailer and it doesn't mean anything, then leave now. I believe that everything in this video was put there to show us the hero's abilities, right? It wasn't put there at random. So we're gonna go through and have a look.
Don't let this party scene fool you. This world is a dangerous place. When you get to be my age, you'll see friends come and go. It's important to take care of the ones still kicking. In the heat of battle, you'd be surprised how far a little kindness might go. But not everyone deserves kindness. Hello, Auntie. This all you brought? Yes. Oh. Attaboy! I didn't offer to share.
So, let me start by saying that I think this hero is really cool. I really like her. I think Snapfire, super cool hero, super cool character. But let's get into it, right? So, first, I think the first few seconds here, this is just flavor. This is just establishing the scene. Alright, because this is not actually anything that the hero's doing. I don't think this is going to be particularly relevant to us. I think the first relevant bit starts just about here, not quite yet, but in a little bit. But I believe these cookies will actually be an ability. These cookies will actually, yeah, they do actually matter. We're gonna see in just a second that she throws a cookie to Invoker. This is where a specific sound effect plays, and then he casts Deafening Blast. So this is where we really have to pay close attention. Listen to the sound effect that plays.
Heat of battle, you'd be surprised how far a little kindness might go.
So that sound effect is cheese. That's what it is. It's cheese. So what does cheese do? It restores health and mana. So I think that's what it's gonna do. I think this is a heal. It looks like it's got a fairly strong, fairly long cast range. You're gonna see here in this clip, she throws it from quite a bit away. The projectile travels very quickly. There's clearly a sense of speed to it. I think it's very, very likely that this is gonna be a pretty long cast range, something fairly spammable. I expect it to restore health and mana, as well as actually provide a little bit of a movement speed boost. So pay attention to Invoker's legs right here. as we go frame by frame. But he eats the cookie, and as soon as he eats the cookie, he gets a little buffer around him. All right, and then as he starts running, you can see, just a second, you can see how he's got these lines on his legs, and these usually indicate speed. Now, there's also the possibility that this is like something that refreshes cooldowns. I think that's not too unlikely. Of course, not fully refreshes them. I think like it might be like it cuts off like a second or two of the hero's cooldowns, right? But I'm fairly confident that it provides a speed boost. It's a long-range, castable, spammable ability that restores health and mana to a single target. It's a very simple spell, but I think generally having these kind of simple spells is not a bad thing by any means. This effect right here, I think is just invoker casting. Deafening Blast, it sounds like Deafening Blast, it looks like Deafening Blast. But you can again see down here, kind of these speed lines, right? So I think it's fairly reasonable to assume that it's some sort of movement speed effect. Now it gets a little bit more difficult. This to me was the really easy bit. I also think the ultimate is fairly simple, but the next two abilities are going to be a little bit more tricky. So this right here is mostly just a little bit of conversation, mostly just a little bit of flavor. And then in just a second, here we go. We summon the pet. So this is, I think, this is an ability. Summoning the pet, you know, calling the pet, and having it be interactable is going to be an ability. Don't worry, I have this all written out. We're going to get into the details a little bit later. But, so this is going to be the first thing here. Then, I think the pet can do that. I think it can kill creeps, eat them, and gain bonus golden experience. Maybe restore some health, maybe restore some mana, something like that. But I think that the hero is going to be able to use the pet to one-shot creeps, to gain bonus golden experience. Kind of similar to like how Doom works, but I think it makes a lot of sense for this character as well, because she's looking more like a support character, and as a support character, I think it's not a bad idea to have a way to actually, you know, keep up in money, keep up in farm. So it seems like a very sensible thing to do. Then you can see right here in that moment, as the Timbersaw attacks her, the pet doesn't actually attack her. This is what makes me believe that this pet is not like Lone Druid's bear, but instead this pet acts a lot more like the cosmetic pets in Dota 2, where it will be around pretty much the whole time. Like, it'll be visible. I think it won't act like the cosmetics, but it'll disappear when an enemy gets too close. But I don't think it's going to be interactable. I don't think that you can kill this. I don't think you can attack it. I don't think it can attack you. I think it's just going to be running around the place, and you can use it to eat creeps, and then also you can use it to mount, which we're going to get to in just a second. This, to me, is just her regular right click. She just shoots with a shotgun. I think that's also very heavily implied by Timbersaw hiding in his armor shell. This is an ability that gets triggered by being attacked. So this to me just kind of like very clearly implies that this is her right click. Batrider comes in and he starts running away. So there's a few notable things about Batrider. A Batrider can ignore cliffs. Alright, so he can kind of like ignore pathing to a certain extent. And then also he's a pretty speedy boy usually. So, first of all, you can see that the pet goes really, really quick. She mounts it. As we already mentioned, she can mount it. And then she gets out her machine gun here. Now, this machine gun, I think, is the most uncertain of abilities here. Like, I'm a little uncertain how exactly the pet works. With the machine gun, I'm quite uncertain. But I have some ideas that I think make a lot of sense. So, the first, well, like really, the way I imagine this works is it kind of like fires a series of projectiles in an arc. That she can move while doing so. And enemies hit by the projectiles, they can dodge them. So, it's not like, you know, everything in the arc takes damage. But instead, like, she targets an area and then it shoots projectiles. So we actually found a League of Legends abilities kind of similar, like somewhat like this, right? Where like the projectiles, they just continue firing, and if they hit something, then they take damage, but they can also miss. Of course, nowhere near at this pace. Much lower rate, much lower rate of fire. I also expect the projectiles to apply movement speed slow. right? So you can see here that the Batrider doesn't actually get hit by all of them. Batrider only gets hit by very few. I think it's a total of 2 out of 15 or 16 shots that he gets hit by. And the shots aren't super fast by any means. Then this right here, Batrider losing his legs. This is again where it's like a little bit of a stretch, but it makes sense for the design of the hero to give it a movement speed slow. So, you know, losing the legs is kind of an implication of being movement speed. You know, you get what I mean. You know, slowing movement speed, losing your legs. Kind of makes sense. You guys have heard me talk about every hero has a magic missile. This is this hero's magic missile. I think it's going to be like the really nice spammable ability that's just useful in a lot of scenarios. Anyway, this is where she gets her thing. Oh, actually, never mind. Psych. Then she gets this jump here. So I actually think this jump will be part of the hero. Why do I think that? Well, first of all, it's in the trailer, right? Like, so she can jump, she doesn't get hit by the chakra. Now, you could say that's just like a cool little ability. And yeah, it's a cool little ability, it just kind of looks cool. Not like a cool little visual. But I think it's actually something that they have been experimenting with a lot. So I feel like that having the hero mounted, it's going to increase your movement speed, but I think it's going to be a little bit difficult to control, similar to Pangolier. And the thing about Pangolier also has a way to jump up and down cliffs, because with that kind of movement speed boost that's difficult to control, you kind of need to be able to actually deal with cliffs somehow. So I think this is where this comes in, where I feel like she might have a button that she can just push that like makes her briefly invincible and gives her cliff walking for like 3 seconds, something like that, right? That's like essentially how it works. And then this right here, I think, is the ultimate, which is a very close range single target spell that's gonna stun a target or heavily slow the target, as well as annihilating their armor, like probably setting it to 0. I think setting the armor to 0 is something that they have very clearly experimented with in Dota before with Pangolier, but with Pango they put it on a really spammable passive, and it didn't really work out that way. I think it's an effect that's actually pretty valuable to have in Dota, though. I feel like it's something that should actually be in the game, especially as like a non-purgeable, just kind of like, you know, killing ultimate. It makes sense for the ability to exist, and it makes sense to place it again as an ultimate. So let's have a look at this. So here's my summary, right? So the first ability is just kind of like target an ally or self, restores HP and mana, gives movement speed. It might reduce cooldowns, but I think overall it's going to be just very long cast range, short cooldown, and might be charge based, although I think that's unlikely. I think it's going to be rather short cooldown. And yeah, I expect it to be single target, but there is a chance it's a skill shot. I really do expect it to be single target though. Mostly because we already have a skill shot with the W. So the W, the way I imagine it already, is kind of like an arc. It shoots a rapid series of minor random projectiles into the arc. Anything that gets hit by it takes damage and gets slowed. I think it's going to be physical damage, which makes a lot of sense with the ultimate. So the ultimate is a single target stun that deals damage and applies a debuff that sets armor to 0. And then short cast range. So again, this could also be a heavy slow. Hey, SRXCR, thank you very much for the sub. Now, I can also see the W being something that you can like reposition the arc when it's active, right? So it's like more of like you activate it and then you can like move your mouse cursor to like reposition where it's going or something like that. I feel like that might be a possibility, although the controls are a bit sketchy on that. So something depends on if they are willing to go that far. Then for the E, so I think she always has the pet around. Right, like that's the really important thing. She always has the pet around, and I think the E is kind of 3 abilities. So she has a total of 6 abilities, where this ability can only be used while she is mounted. She isn't always mounted, but she can only use this when she is mounted. It doesn't scale. It's just a jumping thing, right? I actually think that's going to be in the game. Then with the E, we've got the call the pet. So first, she's normally just running around on her legs on her own, but you can cast the E, which summons the pet, and then she mounts the pet immediately, right? As she mounts the pet, She gains movement speed, and then she kind of like runs around like crazy. She can still use the machine gun because, again, the machine gun is usable while moving. And she can, I imagine she'll probably actually be able to do most of the stuff she can usually do, right? Attacking, casting all of her spells, and then she's got the jump. I think the E is going to have like a partner ability, which is going to be the D here, which instantly kills a creep, and then, you know, you gain bonus golden experience, and it scales up as the E gets leveled up. So you kind of have to, you only have to level this, you get this as a bonus, but you can also use this while you're not mounted. I think the hero is probably going to be a support or offlaner, almost certainly range considering she has a gun, and then rather low stats overall and intelligence. And that's it. That's my guess. So I'm not super certain about some stuff here. I gotta be completely honest. I feel like the ultimate and the Q are just fairly straightforward. But this right here, I'm not sure what the exact configuration here is. I also think this is this would be cool, but it's a bit tricky. And then this is the ability I'm the least certain about. However, I do have to say that with this situation as it is, I actually think this is a cool hero. I think as this design, I think this makes sense, and I think this hero would be quite playable and quite fun. So that's kind of it. So yeah, anyway, that's my prediction. We'll see if it's wrong. Probably is, you know, but it's fun. It's fun to predict. All right, now you could please take it that way. Please don't take this as me saying this is definitely what the hero is. Please take this as it's fun to do these silly predictions. Anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.